Welcome back to Life Biz and All That Jazz, the podcast where real talk meets transformation. If you're navigating your mental health, sobriety, healing from trauma, or just trying to create a life that truly feels like yours, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Jasmine Lashotto, and every week we share the raw, the messy, the beautiful, and the transformations. If you're new here, welcome. Welcome to the family. I'm so excited to have you here. And if you've come back for more, thank you. Thank you so much for coming back for more and trusting in my vision. So today's episode is the final episode of 2025. When I say 2025, it just feels so futuristic. Like 2020 felt futuristic, but 2025, and now we're going into 2026. It's like we're going into that next 25 years. So like the first quarter of the 20 whatevers, I don't even know if I'm making sense, is over. And now it's like, okay, 2026, shit is getting real. Today, I'm going to be talking about you right now. We'll be seeing the 2025 highlight reels where everyone is showing their best parts of the year. They've been traveling. They've made all these memories with their families, with their friends, with their partners. And some of you might have just made it through the year. And that's okay. We are all on our own journeys. And one of the biggest things to being happy and being successful in your own life and how your life is meant to look is really removing the comparisons and knowing that every single person is on their own journey and every single person often will only show you the best unless you really know them, unless you really know behind the scenes. So I'm not going to be sharing a 2025 year highlight reel. I know what I did this year. I know everything that I'm proud of. I know all the lessons that I've learned. I know the things that broke me, that really hurt me, that made me need to shift and pivot to move to that next stage of my journey. So today I'm here to reflect with you, to reflect the messy, the raw, and the life, the real life, the things that we go through every day, which are normal, which we often don't think are because we think that we're the only ones that are going through it. But this year was really interesting for me because I started off the year so excited. All right, we're doing van life, digital nomad life. We're leaving the Gold Coast, which I wasn't too excited about. That was quite scary, but I just knew that I just wasn't going to become that next version of myself, staying there. Not for now anyway. So that's how it all started. Then a few months in, Prinny got sick and my whole life flipped upside down again. So I still had the plans to move to Coffs Harbour, buy the van and do all this stuff, but I had the plans to do it with Prinny by my side. Come to May, I lost her and it was literally one of the hardest things that I've done in my life. Like she was by my side for 16 years. I was a mess. I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to sleep. I didn't want to shower. Like I've never been that depressed before in my life. I just didn't know what the next steps were for me. So I really put everything when it comes to van life and all that on hold and I removed the pressure. I'm like, girl, you just need to get through the next day, the next week, the next month. And I'd slowly progressed. Like the months slowly went on. It's when I decided to be like, I need a holiday. I need a holiday. Why am I just sitting here working from home? I didn't do as many holidays the last few years because I was also obviously paying off a mortgage and all that life bills stuff, but because I wanted to spend most of my time with Prinny. And it was really hard for me to adjust from having this animal rely on me for 16 years. And she wasn't just an animal to me. She was my baby. Like I devoted everything to her. I gave her the best life and I spent more money on her than what I spent on myself. But it was hard to be like shifting my mindset from having her and always worrying about her and to being like, I'm only have to worry about myself now. I don't have many responsibilities. And at first, like it sounds really cool and like being like, oh, wow, that'd be lovely to do that. But then it's also like a feeling of lostness. And well, that's my identity. That was my part of me for 16 years. So it was about shifting that, booking my trip to Bali, going to Bali for 6 weeks and having the biggest breakthrough that I've had ever. And it was really another transformation. And I was able to really look at myself and being like, why are you trying to constantly fix yourself? You don't need to fix yourself. You need to fix what's around you and be able to just step into the version of you who you've always been, but you've had to hide because of the world, society, people, environments. So I really just removed that and being like, I'm everything that I need. I am me. And I love that about me. And it was really building up that self-respect, building up that self-love, that confidence, and just being like, no, you don't need to fix anything. We need to stop fixing things. And I know how easy it is to get into that trap, that healing loop, that I need to fix myself. I need to be a better version of myself. I need to become this. I need to do that. I need to do this. And we have this list of things that we want to achieve and we want to constantly grow and grow and grow. And I think it's great. We can still do that. We can still continuously level up, become better versions of ourselves. But it's not about fixing anything. And it's not about looking back at our past and thinking that we're broken, because we are not. We went through things, some of us very unfortunate things, that made us into a different person, that then allowed us to continue to be that different person. We got lost in our beliefs and our values along the way. And it's coming back to that. It's just removing it all. It's removing it all, removing what doesn't serve you, removing what beliefs you don't have that aren't your core beliefs. Because most of us, and I will be the first to put my hand up, I was this person. We don't actually know who we are. But I say that really nicely, but most of you don't know who you are. And that's not your fault. And I'm not coming here to say, oh, it's not your fault. You know, you went through this, you went through this trauma. Like, it's not your fault that things happen to you, but it is your fault if you don't do something about it. If you don't shift your mindset, if you don't shift your values and your beliefs to become more aligned with yourself, you're going to wake up one day and you're going to regret your life. We all will have some sort of regret, but depending on where you are in your journey, you have the chance to make that less. And I don't like to call it regret, to be honest. I don't regret anything that I've been through or regret anything that I've done. I know that a lot of the choices that I have made in the past are not aligned with me, but then I also know most of the dumb choices and the things that I made was when I was under the influence of alcohol, or I was just partying and in that like kind of party mode, and just not able to be who I am as a person, because I was drinking heavily. I was doing party drugs. I was doing all that kind of stuff that made my mind and my personality not be me. It wasn't. I was someone else. I had a mask on. And then that goes back to really being lost and not knowing who I was, and then continuously self-sabotaging and continuously pulling through and continuously like burying my nervous system so it wasn't able to come through and be relaxed and calm. I think another big thing I dealt with this year that I know you'll relate to is like the grief and loss of not just losing Prinny, but like the grief and loss of my old version of myself. And it's funny because like we'll see posts or old stories and memories come up and we look at them and think, wow, that's so cringy. And I think there's something really powerful in that if you can do that and you look back at the old version of yourself and think that you were cringe, it's kind of like both ways. It's also like you were being who you thought you were at the time, but then it's also looking back and think, just give that person grace, because that's the best that they could do at that time. 2025 also tested me a lot. It tested me in a way that I knew that my boundaries were sticking because people resented them and kicked back from them. It also tested me in a way that I know what type of environment I need to have. And that was from removing myself from my current environment and putting that into my Bali environment, or not so much just a Bali environment, but an environment of peace and calmness and stillness and ocean and outdoors and adventure. And that's exactly what I need to have for the rest of my life. And I will have that. And then that's something as well that's really hard for us to imagine because we get so consumed in bills, routine, society's pressures that we lose sense of what actually makes us happy and what actually is good for our souls. And I'll be the first to say, and I know that a lot of you will probably have 9 to 5 jobs and work 40 hours a week for somebody else. And I do understand that like that is needed right now. Not many people have other options. But if you're constantly working 40 hours a week, burn out on the weekends, burn out at night, and you don't have any joy outside of your work, then that's when something needs to change. If you can work 40 hours, go to the gym after work or before work, have this really good, healthy routine. On weekends, you're out doing stuff. You don't feel burnout and you're happy. You feel like you're making an impact in the world and like you're appreciated and you feel like that what you give to your work is reciprocated and you're happy, then that's fine. But then I also know a lot of you don't feel that way. And I can say that because I was there for years and years. I put so much effort into a company to only just feel like I was just a number. And you get 4 weeks off a year, which is not enough to travel. Where can you go? You can go somewhere for 4 weeks, but it's not enough. And life just goes too quick to be able to just only travel 4 weeks a year. So this is why I share that there is an option on the other side. There is a possibility on the other side. And it's not something that you can just switch on and think, all right, well, tomorrow I'm going to quit my job and start a business. It's not like that. You need to work on it while you still have a full-time job and building it up on the side to then be able to come through and be like, okay, well, now I can drop back to casual in my full-time job. Now I can quit my full-time job. If you know that something's missing, and I think that's where it comes to, there'll be 2 people listening right now. There'll be people that are satisfied with just working hard, having their 4 weeks a year, doing what they, do, and that's fine. That's your life. If that's you, that's so fine. But then there's going to be the other side, and I think this is a better way to explain it, that knows that they want more. You want more, you need more, and you're struggling. You just don't want to be on repeat every single day, do the same thing every day all year. So you are the ones that need to have a look at what needs to change, what you can do to change, and just start small. Just start small. You can learn a new skill. You can do another course. You can learn a skill on your own. There's that much information on YouTube, ChatGPT. There's so many mini courses that you can do, or you can do a more in-depth course to learn a new skill, but something that's going to allow you to start a business. And especially for my people that are ADHD, you don't understand the power of having your own business. Yeah, some days it's really hard to get motivated. Some days I just want to sleep. Some days I just get so overwhelmed that I only get a few tasks done. But if you can just get one retainer client, and that's my main thing, is having that one retainer client, and then I have small one-off jobs that really just fit in, and just having that base money so you can live, you can pay your bills. It doesn't need to be anything grand. You just need to be happy. So that's kind of the recap on environment where I'm coming from, is you need to be able to have an environment that supports your nervous system, that makes you happy, and that actually makes life fun and there's joy in every single day. All right, so that's the part of the messy part of the year, that messy chapter of my year, the loss, the environment, the outgrowing. And one thing I want to finish this part of the episode with is journal prompt that you can ask yourself. What am I clinging on to that I've outgrown? I'll put this in the show notes as well, but just have a think about that. Write it down, write dot points, write a chapter, write as much as you want, but have a think about it. 2025 brought out a new level of discipline that I didn't know I had. Well, that's kind of a lie. I knew I had it, but I was just really digging deep to find it. And it took me time to find it. So much so that I got discipline and delusion tattooed on my arms. Yes. People probably think, why would you do that? Well, Delusion is why I am where I am right now, why I have the life that I have, why I have the happiness, why I have the discipline, why I have the mindset is because I was always delusional, believing that I can achieve anything that I want and I can have the life that I want. When you think big, when you dream big, your mind starts to believe it. It creates pathways, neuroplasticity. You know, I always love talking about that. And I feel like the podcasters have really shifted away from that science backed fact data. But we'll see what next year's got in store. Being delusional is a fucking superpower. Excuse my language, but people think that it's like, oh, you're delusional. Like, that's delusional. I don't know how to explain it in a negative context, but for me, it's not. Like Delulu is the Solulu. And if you've heard that and you resonate with that, you know. But your brain needs to think big. Your brain needs to be excited. Your brain needs to be like, wow, challenged. I can do this. And that's what happens when you have the delusion, you think big, you dream big, you create these pathways in your head that you can achieve stuff and you do it. And that's what I've done. That's why I just say it now. And to continuously remember it, I got it tattooed on my wrist. Discipline. Discipline. You get some delusion, sprinkle in a little bit of discipline. And that's my 2026 blueprint. I'm actually really excited for the new year. And even though this year's been a hard year, I'm really excited what I've achieved this year and what I got through. And this is where we come to the discipline era. So I'll start off more with my sobriety discipline. I got tested more times this year in my sobriety journey than I have in my entire life. I'm talking staying at hotels, free bottles of wine, going out, unlimited bottle service, going out at Bali. There was free drinks, ladies' nights, checking into villas. Oh, we've got a wine selection for you. I'm talking about next level, like being on my own multiple times with wine in a hotel villa. There's just so many times that I literally was just sitting on my own, could have had a drink, didn't have an urge, but just knew how far I'd come. And it's just like, what's the point? And I just hope so many of you that are in your sobriety journey or are sober curious can see that I'm explaining this, and I'm not trying to sound like I'm better than anybody else, but I'm trying to just show you what is possible, and anyone can do it. Anyone can do this. If I can do this, you can do this. And I guess it's really as well, and I'll touch on more of this towards the end of the episode in my acceptance era chapter. Because you know me, I've planned some of this episode and I've broken it down into points. So knowing that I could have broken my sobriety, I'm pushing nearly 2.5 years. Knowing that I could have done that, no one would have known, but it's the integrity. It's knowing that I would have been letting myself down, and I don't do anything for anyone else. Everything that I do is for myself. Sobriety, mindset work, growth. I'm not trying to become anyone for anyone else. It's purely for me. I work on myself every single day for me, not for anyone else. Everything else that unfolds, people that see it and feel inspired, people that are happy and proud, that's just a bonus. That's what comes on top. But knowing that any of those times that I was tested, my discipline grew stronger and stronger. And the more you do it, the further you go, the stronger you are, the easier things come. And then it comes into my fitness journey, my discipline era of my fitness journey. So one fine day in Bali, I was bored. I know you think, why? How are you bored on holidays? Well, I was there for 6 weeks and I did a real slow holiday. I was working while I was there. It was really just to go somewhere and just chill out while I worked. It wasn't really a planned kind of holiday travel thing. I just did a lot while I was there. But I was sitting there and I was like, on my work days. So I was working Monday, Wednesday, Fridays are my work days. And I can't remember which day it was. But I did some work in the morning and then I was like needed a break and I was going for swims and stuff like that. But I just felt like I needed some type of exercise. And I did go to the gym and do Pilates classes. But I felt like by the time I went there in my lunch break and come back, it was too late in the afternoon and I just wanted to get my work day done. So I thought, what's some little exercise that I could do? Another thing as well is there was a lot of run clubs in Bali and I really wanted to join a run club. I was like, I want to be a part of this run club community because I see everyone doing it here in Australia and just the thought of even starting to run was unfit. And I haven't ran for years. Yeah, I have Pilates, I do cardio at the gym, strength, whatever, a little bit of treadmill, a lot of weights. I thought, how am I going to start running? So I just did. I downloaded the Strava app and that gave me a little bit more of motivation. I thought, look, I'm kind of a bit professional. And I ran my first K. And I think I got nearly 2Ks the first time. I didn't run consecutively the whole time. But then I ran again. And I started looking at my times and, I started to see progress. And I just kept running. I kept running and I joined my first run club. It was an all girls run club and it was just so nice because I was really nervous about doing the run club because most of them were minimum 5Ks or 10Ks, but this one was a 30-minute run and I knew I could run for 30 minutes even if it was at a slower pace. So I did it and then I've come back now and the more that I run, the better I get. But then it's also like that mindset switch now. It's when I'm pushing through an exercise, I know that I'm in pain, but it's telling me don't give up. My brain is literally like, you've got this, you've got this. And that's kind of something that I feel like has helped from my sobriety journey. It's like building that discipline now that I have, and it's a whole new level. I'm at level expert of discipline. And I say that so proudly and so humbling because I've always struggled with that, being consistent. And I know that has a lot to do with ADHD, is having a hobby and being excited with something. And then that's also something that I've had to push through with the podcast because some weeks I don't want to do it. Some weeks I'm just like, I don't have the energy to just edit the episodes because I've got a lot recorded. Or sometimes I just don't have the energy to show up for an episode with a guest. But I did it. And then it just is like now there's no other option but for me to get everything done that I'm going to do. And that's a muscle that I needed to build. And I know that that's something that a lot of you will think now it's coming to the end of the year. All right. So you might have a few things that you achieve this year. You might have achieved everything. If you did, congratulations. I'm proud of you. But then there's going to be some of you that didn't. And you're going to think, oh, I'm going to start the year fresh. I'm going to have all these goals. I'm going to become fit. I'm going to do this. I'm going to grow this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to start a business. I'm going to, get a promotion. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go on a holiday. There's going to be so many things flooding through your mind that you think you want to do in 2026. But the biggest thing is, the smallest thing is you need to know how you're going to do it and you need to break it down. And it's not so much of taking on all this stuff and trying to have a big grand year and show off to everybody else because no one else really cares. They only care about themselves. And it's not in a way of being mean or trying to be rude, but it really is yourself against the world. And yeah, you might be in a relationship. So you're going to be with your partner and or you've got a family and your family against the world. There's going to be certain things. But before you go into the new year or reflect on the year that's passed, start with small things. So earlier on in the episode, the journal prop was about what are you clinging on to that you've outgrown? Now have a think about what is stopping me from becoming the next version of myself. So there's going to be a lot of deeper things here. And this comes to a lot of uncovering a lot of shadow work and your limiting beliefs, because your limiting beliefs and your subconscious, especially your subconscious, your limiting beliefs you're probably more aware of, but your subconscious, you have no idea what's in there. And that's a big part of a journey that you need to dive into to be able to see what is actually stopping you. But there'll be more on that in 2026, so stay tuned. So that's kind of a full roundhouse of my discipline era when it comes to sobriety, fitness. I guess as well I'll touch on quickly, because I feel like this episode is already 30 minutes in, and is food. So food has always been a hard one for me. Snacking, easily to just stop and get Macca's because it doesn't love a cheeseburger. But now it's whole foods. I crave whole foods. I have oats and chia seeds and yogurt, protein for every meal. I'm back to lean meats, eating a lot of eggs, protein, cottage cheese, a lot of fruit. Oh, fruit in Bali. Oh my God, it was so good. But that's something that my back's getting sore. That's something that I struggled with coming back here as well. It's just so cheap to live in Bali, and it's so easy to eat healthy there, and it's actually expensive here. And it's a lot more expensive to live in Australia than it is to Bali, even though I'm not living in my unit. I rent my unit out. All costs are covered. So I don't really have many expenses where I live here. But in saying that, it's still cheaper to live in Bali. It's cheaper to eat there. It's cheaper for housing. It's quite ridiculous. I know it's a third world country, but then I came back thinking, I can't live in Australia. It's stressful. It's fast paced. Everything's so expensive, and I don't have many bills. Food costs me $200 a week here. That's what my accommodation and food cost. And I stayed in a lot of guest houses, so I know that does sound cheap, but you can live in Bali for like $35 a day if you don't go out and drink and do activities. You just kind of just go to the pool, the beach, do free stuff. Like, that's how cheap you can live there. If you want more details on where, message me, and there are some nice places that I stayed. Not the villas. The villas aren't that cheap. But that's where like food really plays a big part in becoming that next version of yourself. You are what you eat is a small way to explain it. And all these little things that you do, this is where I'm talking about coming back to basics. Just exercise, eat good food, have positive people around you, really have a look at your environment, and boundaries. They don't cost any money. All food and fitness cost money if you go to the gym, and you obviously got to pay for food. But and I guess this is kind of contradicting what I was saying about eating healthy and expensive in Australia, but most of you are buying food, and it depends what you're buying. You can try and go to farmers markets. Depending on where you live, you can get like those really good odd veggie fruit boxes or like meat pack deliveries. Unfortunately, where I live is a bit regional, and they don't have either of those. But that's 4 key components that I would recommend worrying about before you start worrying about any other goals. And I know I said it's not about starting the new year with big goals about fitness and all this stuff. It's just like getting the basics, like just making sure that you are doing some movement every single day. That's 7 days a week. Making sure that you're just eating whole foods 80% of the day. Having a look at what is draining your energy and implementing boundaries. Your environment. What can you remove out of your environment today that's going to help you have a better tomorrow? And I have episodes on boundaries and environment, earlier episodes. I can't remember what number they are, but that goes into a little bit more detail. And I feel like I'm going to redo that in 2026 because 12 months ago when I started, over 12 months ago now, when I did those episodes, I was a whole different version of myself. So that's really exciting now to be able to look at that and think, okay, well, that was working then for me, but now I know how to do that 10 times. So yeah, that's the discipline era and the freedom era. I think this kind of folds on to and piggybacks off what I was talking about earlier about environment, because for me to be able to travel and work wherever I want is an absolute dream. But that wasn't an overnight dream. This is 5 years in the making of constantly being delusioned that I knew that I could have this lifestyle. And that's where it's coming from the start of the year, where I thought I would already have my van and I'd be traveling now with Prinny. and knowing that I still kind of have that freedom, but it's a little bit different. It looks a little bit different now, and that's okay because I'm still looking for the van. I'm just taking a bit of a slower process because I've got a lot of other things going on at the same time when it comes to my finances, and I need to make sure I make some really good decisions because this is going to be the next 5-10 years of my life that it's going to support the decisions I make now. So it's not just a quick buy a van, go build it, do all that stuff, or buy one already built because it is a lot of money and I need to make sure I do it strategically. So stay tuned for that because it's all unfolding in the background. But I think the freedom and then that comes with peace and what supports my nervous system. And if I live the rest of my life just being happy and at peace and a calm nervous system and retire with money to support me, and to still travel and, to be happy. I don't need a grand bank account. I don't need multiple properties. I know stuff like this will unfold. I have done good for myself now with the unit that I have on the Gold Coast. So there's certain things that I've done and I've put into place, especially with the money that I earn and the skills that I have. I know that I already do live comfortably. And it's only going to get better, especially once I meet someone and we have that joint, both bring each other's lives and what each other have together. Everything's going to be a lot easier. But it's not always like that. And that's where it's like, it's probably easy for me to say it because I don't have kids and I am single and that I can choose to change what I want to do tomorrow. And that freedom, having that freedom has allowed me to support my nervous system, control my anxiety, control my depression. And look, I still have bad days and I still have anxious days, but it's really been able to get through them a lot easier than what I would have if I was just working really, really hard, stuck in a house, just paying all this money when I'm just literally sitting there working from home and just feeling I'm in that trap. And I know that, again, there's a lot of things that I've said today in this podcast, and they're really going to separate a lot of the listeners because you're either going to get it and you'll be for it or you won't. And you might even be having some type of resistance because you're listening to this and you have the total opposite, but you want different. The first thing you'll do when you are triggered by something is be angry and jealousy will form, but you might not even know that you are being a jealous person because a lot of the times jealousy is quite hidden and it comes out as self-sabotagement in a way that you project onto other people. And you really need to sit back and listen to how you're feeling. And I'm trying to word this the best way that I can, but knowing that you have a perception about situation and someone's life and what they're doing is your perception. Doesn't mean that it's valid. It's just your perception as the same as me. Like the way that I perceive my life and what I want from my life is my perception. So I always need to think about the way that I deliver things and the way that I talk about things and be cautious because we're all going through our own journey. And I can only share what I go through and what I've learned and who I think will relate to this. And that's okay. Like that's my part that I can do. And you are like, I will say it honestly to you, like you're either going to get this and you're going to agree with it or you're not. You're going to just think that I'm delusional in a negative context. And that's all right because I don't need any validation and neither should you. If you feel like you are happy and you are where you are in life and that's it and you're doing the things that you want to do and you are grateful and everything joyful, then that's fine. You don't need any approval. But this is for my people that like are lost and are hurting and feel like that their life is just coasting by because it's unfortunate that we get so intertwined with life and what everyone else is doing. We want to keep up with everybody else and we want to have this and that and we want to keep chasing. And a lot of it is also from childhood wounds. A lot of us want to be better versions for our parents, or we didn't get that love and we didn't get that acceptance as childs. So we have to be overachieving and that's where we become perfectionists and that's something that I feel like I've shedded this year as well, which wasn't easy to shed, is that nothing needs to be perfect. And that's why I'm wearing my progress, not perfection shirt, because it's just about progress. And being a high achiever isn't healthy. It's not something we should be proud of. It's actually really toxic for us to be a high achiever because we're constantly wanting to do better and we're never just happy with what we've got. So yeah, I feel like that was a bit of a tangent one, but if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. Love yous all. Now, to wrap up today's episode, I'm trying to get this finished a little bit quicker than what I expected, but girl loves to talk. The acceptance era. This year, I really stopped trying to fix everything. I said this at the start. I stopped fixing. I am not broken. I do not need to be healed. I needed to create a life that suited me. And I say that with so much sass, I can just get it. But like, it's something that I'm really, really proud of, like, coming through, because it's so easy to be in a healing loop and just be wanting to heal and fix and do all this work and stuff. And I think there's a lot of people out there that really prey on people that are in that situation. And it's quite disgusting. I will admit that. There's a lot of coaches, people doing all this stuff. They do like a 5-week program and they think they're all this like healer and stuff like that. And I don't want to bash on anyone because I never want to be like that person that like whinges about other people. But I've seen it and I've been victim to it. And that was my own fault. I shouldn't say victim. Oh, that's a bit of a gross word. I have been in that space is a nicer way to put it. And it's easy to get stuck there. And no one needs to fix themselves. You are everything that you're meant to be. You just went through things. You got different beliefs. Everything happened to you that changed the way that you were and who you were meant to be. So it's not about fixing. It's about having a life that you fit into. Everything around you is your life and it suits you, not what anyone else told you or not what you think that it's meant to be because what other people have. So when I was making some notes for this episode, I just recapped on the year and what I wanted to talk about. So I've got my clipboard with my notes. I really come to accepting is that I am multi-passionate. I am multi-talented. And what was the other one? A multifaceted person, which they all kind of intertwine together. And how did I lose track of that being a fucking superpower? Where did I forget along the way that being multi-talented, multi-passionate, and multifaceted as being something to be ashamed of? Well, I'll tell you. I'll tell you where I lost that along the way. Society, other people. People telling me that I can't do multiple things because then I won't look like I'm good at them all. Well, I can't help that if I can do multiple things. Then there's a lot that I don't really talk about business, and I really want to bring that into 2026 more about my business because that's what supports me and my nervous system and allows me to have the life that I want. But I think sometimes, but not I don't think, I know that I thought if I share and have this podcast and share on Jasmine Lashotta Official or the Life Biz and all that jazz podcast, that I wouldn't look professional in my business because my business is marketing, it's content, it's strategy, I do a lot of stuff with AI automation systems. Like there's a lot of deep work that I do. And I also have social media pages for them, but I don't really promote them much online. But that's what put me off starting the podcast for years, is that I thought people would see me doing the podcast and then sharing what I share about like mindset, obviously sobriety, mental health, my journey, my healing journey and my growth journey. I thought that people would think that I am not skilled to have a business. And then I just had to remove that pressure and that society's expectations and those limiting beliefs and what was deep in my subconscious that I created this belief. And I was telling myself like deep down that what other people had told me had filtered into my subconscious and made me believe that, because I never believed that. I always knew that I could do it all. I knew that I could have my business on the side. That's my business. That's my whatever hours I do a week. Then I have the podcast and I have this whole other platform where I share separately. And it's like, well, that's who I am. That's how I've always been. I've always been able to do multiple things at once. I am really passionate about a lot of things. And then it comes to, well, my business, the reason why I started that is because I love to be creative. And that's a core thing about me is like I'm a creator and I love to create content, but I also love to work with other businesses to help create their dreams, create their visions, build their lives and have their freedom. And then it all kind of intertwines. And then obviously I started my business because I needed to have that freedom that supported my mental health. So it all kind of like comes in. But that was one of the biggest realizations I think that I've had this year, was that I am allowed to do whatever I want whenever I want. If it's not hurting anyone, what's wrong with it? And that's something that I really was proud of this year, is that accepting that I am multi-passionate and I am multi-talented and I can have multiple businesses. I don't need to just have one business that is like everything else. If I have the capability to have my businesses going, my content businesses, and then also be able to have the podcast and then have my platform to support women in busy brains and sobriety, then I can do that because I can have it. I can have it all. And I think it's really knowing that if people do judge you and don't want to work with you in, say, for instance, with my marketing business, then that's someone I don't want to work with. I don't want to work with people that don't understand mental health and don't support the other things that I'm sharing, because this is my passion. This is my passion project. And this is my hobby, is the podcast and helping other women realize that busy brains are okay and they are not broken. They are becoming the best versions of themselves. So yeah, that was something that I was really happy about. And then I also, because I did the ChatGPT recap, and this is what ChatGPT told me, that I turned from a multi-passionate chaos tornado into a multi-layered, self-aware architect. More prouder. It really like boosted my confidence. And sometimes we just need to hear it from someone else, even if it is from a computer AI program. But that's why I always want to be that person, just to say what you're doing is enough and you are enough. You've always been enough. You just got lost in an environment that wasn't built for you. So it's time to come back, find your own environment, create your own environment, create your reality that suits you, your brain, and the life that you want to live. So a little recap at the end of the business part of the year. And it was my biggest business year yet. And I did the most craziest stuff outside of it. I obviously packed up my whole life. I decided that I wanted to become a digital nomad. I traveled Bali for 6 weeks. I did so many things, but I still stayed consistent with my business and allowed me to be able to have the lifestyle that I had now. I leveled up with my skills and I really just was able to put 110% into my clients, because everything else around me supported my lifestyle and I was happy and I was joyful every single day, waking up and doing what I wanted to do. And then look, like I said, there was days and sometimes some parts of the year where I wasn't my best self, and that's normal. Even comes with women having on their cycles. We're not always going to be 100%, but it's still showing up and doing the best that we can. Doesn't mean that we're not giving everyone our best. We're still doing our best, but it's just going to be a little bit hindered because we need to work around things. We need to take it a little bit slower and we need to pivot in a way that's going to support our mental health, but then still allow us to be happy and to be able to come forward and do the best that we can in that time and not feel that shame and guilt and feel like that we've let ourselves down or that we're letting other people down. So that's 2025 recapped. I'm excited for 2026. I think that when you do remove the pressure of anyone else's expectations, when you accept who you are and know that good things take time and it's all about the small, consistent steps, that what you do today will create your life tomorrow, in a year, 12 months. So today's actions will create tomorrow's habits. And if you're not where you want to be right now, that's because you need to change these actions, change these habits, and it all starts with one step at a time. You've got this. It's progress, not perfection. I'll put some more journal prompts in the show notes so you can have another little recap for the year. I'm really, really excited for 2026. The first month or two, so the first 6 episodes, we've still got some more guests finishing off season 2 of Unmasked. But then we're shifting things up a little bit. So I'm really excited to share more in the new year. But for now, enjoy the start of the year. Whenever you're listening to this, remember, I'm only a message away. You can always contact me. Thank you so much for everyone that's supported me through the year. Thank you for people that have joined recently, or if this is the first episode that you're listening to, thank you for being here. And just remember, you are not broken, you are becoming.